This is the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jeni Melrose, teaching influencers and bloggers how to become successful entrepreneurs. This is episode 130 of the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jeni Melrose. Today, I am having an interview with Jeni B from Biz Mavens. We're going to be talking about what is a blog business. Now, if you are a blogger or even a service provider and you are trying to really determine where you're going with your business, if you're feeling a little burnt out, if you're trying to feel like you're always just treading water, you are going to want to listen to this episode. Jeni is going to give you 3 areas of your business that you really need to be paying attention to in order to start treating your blog like a business and making sure that you are putting your time and effort into the right things rather than just spinning your wheels. Now, I will say I had the opportunity to meet Jeni at Everything Food Conference, and you will hear us actually chatting a little bit about that in this interview. But one of the things that I noticed right away about her is that we are on the same page when it comes to the importance of you treating your blog like a business. And the only way to do that is to have this mindset shift. So make sure that you take advantage of the blogging detox that we are talking about in this episode. You're going to hear us link to it. We are going to link to it in the show notes. We're going to talk about it a little bit in this episode, but this is perfect timing with it being summer for you to really take a look at where are you putting your effort in. Let's start working smarter, not harder. All right, guys, let's dive in. All right. Welcome, Jeni. How are you?
Doing fantastic. How are you, Jeni?
Very good. Jeni, will you actually introduce yourself to my audience so they know why we're going back and forth with the Jennies here?
Absolutely. So I'm Jeni B. I am the founder of businesswoman.com, and we really focus on helping women move from hobby blogger to entrepreneur. And there's so many things that go with that. There's, of course there are tactics and there are strategies that are part of that process. But I think equally as important is the mindset shifts that go, that have to fall into place in order to help you make that transition. It's every bit as much about, who you are becoming as a businesswoman as it is about the things that you're accomplishing along the way.
Okay. I am so glad you actually brought that up, because one of the things that I know after having met you at Everything Food Conference for the first time and being a listener of your podcast, I know that we agree on the importance of treating your blog like a business. What do you believe this should really look like?
So, most folks get into blogging in a kind of haphazard way. And I'm thinking, the old days when people used to be blog groupies and, all the content and all of the activity and the buzz and the conversations were happening right on blogs. This is, 2010, 2012 time period and a little around there. But so many of us got into blogging just as a place to share our creative ideas, to help take other people along on our journey. And really being a hobby blogger, even if you are making money, what it looks like is that you still have things very me centered. So you are, this is all different parts of your presence. So if you are coming up with blog post ideas, or you're thinking, what should I send people this week? Or, who should I network with? All of these things. It's not a bad thing in itself, but doing things from a blogger centered perspective is really what keeps women having a hobby blog, even if they're making money for it. But then contrast that with a business. Businesses are there to provide a service. They're there to provide a product. They're there to deliver some sort of transformation where, think about it from your reader's perspective. So your reader comes in on a link and in a properly positioned business blog, the reader can see themselves and they see how you can help them. They can capture a vision of how they are going to change as a result of having been in contact with you, having followed along, having subscribed. So, businesses are in a position to make a lot more money for 99% of us, because quite simply, we are planning things around the people that we serve instead of just looking at ourselves.
Yes. No, absolutely. I totally agree. And I feel like for many of us, and I don't actually know your story, how did you get into the online space?
Let's see. It was a dark and stormy night.
Get out of here.
And I actually came in strictly through the business route. So I've been doing a part-time hustle. I had a medical transcription business that I had built. But at the same time, I could see so many areas of opportunity for actually it was doctors at the time, doctors and dentists that I was serving. And there was to me, it was a void in the service that was available for them. I saw so many cookie cutter online presences for doctors and dentists. And so I started building websites and ended up squarely in the web design space. But after a year or two of working exclusively with doctors and dentists, at the same time, I was an avid blog reader myself. I was reading a blog called Small Things. It's now one of my best friends, it turns out. What else was I reading back then? Amanda Soul, Soul Mama. I was in like a kind of a hippy dippy mode back then. But every time I would look at these bloggers, I'm sitting here with my marketing hat on, and I was there I was working at the time as a designer, but everything was coming back to business strategy. So I would go to my favorite blogs and realize this is a hot mess. Like even the ones who were really successful, they had no strategy behind what they were doing. They were just kind of like throwing all kinds of things. I like to say throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And to me, there was just this huge gap of like what was missing. So it was a pretty amazing story. I had a woman named Jeni Stewart, who I actually ran into at the Everything Food Conference, comes full circle now. But a lady named Jeni found I was writing about these things online, and she found my blog and she was like, I know that you do design for like businesses, but can you do a blog design? And I was like, well, yeah, absolutely. So I started taking her through the design process, and we were really looking at the business aims that she wanted to fulfill. She wanted to get more email subscribers. She wanted to have her website itself, not just the content, but the structure of the site. She wanted that to result in higher page views because it was primarily ads that she was monetized through. And so she took a chance on me. With somebody who had very little, I had no blogs in my portfolio at all. It was just a really cool introduction where for me, I was like, that's gotta be God. So I started working, and then Jeni told her friends, and eventually I just put up a shingle and I was like, I'm a blog designer. I loved the experience of working with bloggers because they had so much energy. So much passion and so much drive to do things well online. In contrast with the doctor and dentist clients that I had who were just like, oh, just the bare minimum. What do I need to do? I want to get found on Google. And to me, I became tired of solving those problems because they didn't really care. Do you know what I mean? Whereas bloggers have such a personal interest in their websites. So it became a natural fit. I started doing blog design. And over the course of about 4 or 5 years, I ended up doing very strategic web design for women bloggers primarily who had very specific business goals with their website. And we were getting phenomenal results. We were, within 24 hours of a new design going live, we were noticing very different things. So skyrocketed opt-in rates. We were noticing, multiplied page views. Even those who had existing pretty good page views, we were 2 or 3xing the page views that they were getting through their site. Bounce rate was going way down. So this was a really exciting time for me was an exciting experience where I realized, the skills that I have been gathering, kind of as my snowball was rolling down the mountain and gaining momentum, those skills were translating to more money in the pockets of my clients, of the people that I worked with. So I continued on that route for several years until, and I have to say, during that time, I came along kind of as a trusted advisor and really doing a lot of consulting and coaching with the business side of things. And about the time that my fourth child was born, she's 4.5 now, so this has been, about 5 years ago, I realized that doing design was not what I wanted to do or could do, continuing in that same way. But what I really loved was the strategy. And so I had kind of a side hustle within my business of consulting and doing strategic planning for blog businesses. But I had caught the fire. Like, that was exciting to me. It was really neat to be able to make recommendations that were having such powerful impacts on women's businesses. So that's how I went from medical transcriptionist to dentist web designer to blog designer, and then finally settled on being a strategist for online business.
Whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just thinking of starting a podcast, you need to listen to Buzzcast from the folks at Buzzsprout. Here we go! Buzzcast covers everything a podcaster should know, from marketing strategies and how to make money from your podcast to the latest and greatest tech and industry insights to keep you on the cutting edge. Follow Buzzcast by clicking the link in the description or go to buzzcast.buzzsprout.com and keep podcasting.
Well, it just makes so much sense to me. There was one thing that you said that stood out to me from the very beginning, was you described it as cookie cutter. And I think there are so many bloggers that we see out there that they just look at each other. What is everyone else doing? I have to do exactly that. So when you're talking about from the standpoint and the perspective of what solution do I solve, I don't think a lot of them come into it with that idea. A lot of people that will start off as hobbyists. I was one of them. So it was interesting for me to hear your side of your story of how you kind of came into it. Because for me, it was an escape. It was a hobby. It was just my way of being able to be creative. And then once I understood that I needed to solve a problem for my audience and I needed to stop doing what everyone else was doing and see what worked for my audience, it just changed the way that I looked at my business. So I love that you kind of took us through that story, because it shows that experience, the expertise that you had on the marketing side of things, and that you were able to not only take the design, but then give the strategies that were then hitting their goals. I think that was the piece for me when you were talking about it, is that they had those goals set. And it's so important to have those set there.
I think one of the interesting things about it's almost like the blogging, and I love bloggers, so don't read anything into this. I serve bloggers all the time, but there's kind of a herd mentality with bloggers. Like, I've got to try to, if I could just peek over the shoulder of that other blogger and see what she's doing, then if I did the exact same thing, I would be successful too. But the problem is, the people, even if you're writing about similar things, the people that are coming to that other blogger's website, they're different from the people that are coming to yours. And she's a different person, and you're a different person. And so the areas of opportunity, if you just go around copying everybody else, you will always be behind them. And so you have to become comfortable with the idea, not I am a blogger, but I am a leader. I'm a leader of my people. And you grow to this place where you feel almost like you're a trustee, that you're going to act at whatever is in the best interest of those people you are serving right now. And then also based on that, what are the people who you have a potential to reach? So you develop this relationship almost, it's kind of paternal almost, or, maternal, in our cases, where you're thinking about them and you're wanting to figure out what do they need. And in the process of doing that, of changing your vision from, okay, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm looking at myself, what do I want to do? Or I'm looking over at this other blogger and what she's doing. When you start to look at your people and really, really listen, then you are able to start implementing strategies that start working in an explosive way for you and for your readers.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So important. So now I have a question for you. You kind of started to hit on it a little bit. What are 3 areas that you feel like to really step into your blog business that you need to put into place?
The first one, Jenny, and this is a great question. The first one is knowing your people. And I don't mean filling out some random avatar, like you just, pick something out of a hat. Yeah, everybody's seen the tired old avatar, advice. The problem with that is you're not communicating with a real person. What you want to be building as a leader is actual relationships with people so that you know them. You get what it is that they really want. Why is that important to them? What would happen if they don't change anything? Kind of what are the negative things that would still remain in place if they don't pursue some kind of change? What have they tried before that hasn't worked? All of these people come to you with very different backgrounds, histories, reasons. But as you get to know these women that are following you on a one-to-one basis, you start noticing trends. And you see overlaps and you start to hear the same stories again and again. And at the point where that becomes a common experience where you're like, okay, I know at this point, if I ask them what's their greatest frustration with X, they're gonna answer in one of 3 or 4 different ways. You know what I mean? That's knowing your people. And then another piece of knowing your people is knowing what else they're reading. What else is out there? We have a tendency to say, oh, I'm not writing anything original. I can't add any value because everything's already been said. But here's the deal. For your specific people, they may be exposed to things that other bloggers are writing, or they're reading books about it, or they've attended trainings on that are actually not serving them. That are steering them in the wrong direction, that are keeping them stuck. And so stepping into a leadership role means that, yeah, you are reading other things, even things with competitors, but you are filtering it through what is actually going to help make my people successful. And when you have a handful of women, let's say, I'm not going to exclude you guys out there altogether, but in general, I work with women. But when you start using that knowledge of your people as a filter and start doing things that will help them, or developing, bossy pants opinions about what it is that's wrong with the way everybody says you have to do stuff, that is when that's when you gain so much momentum, because you are fueled really with passion for helping these people. And it also helps you set yourself apart from Ash Ambirge says the sea of sameness, that all of the other tens of thousands of bloggers, that it's like a huge echo chamber in the blogging world, right? Like everybody's saying the same thing. Everybody's saying the same thing. And your greatest opportunity comes when everybody else is zigging and you can zag. And when you see that there are fundamental flaws in the way that other people are presenting the content, and you say, okay, so I'm going to take advantage of this because that is going to help me serve my people better. It's a long answer to number 1, Jenny.
No, that's perfect. And I love the explanation that you're giving, because it does, I try to put it back into my own perspective, and I think of it as, I'm known for my rants. I will get up on my soapbox, and I have multiple people that will reach out to me afterwards, whether it's directly, whether it's through Instagram, and they will say to me, I was looking for this today. I needed to hear that perspective because it's what I've thought, but didn't know if it was like in the right lane that I was supposed to lean towards or whatever it might be. And I do like, and I've seen it out there too with other bloggers that will just take a stance in what they believe in and have their own perspective on it and totally makes sense. Does. It builds that momentum to really push forward. So yes. All right. So that was number one. Number was know your audience of the three things. What would be your second?
I think the second is understanding the transformation that they actually need to make. So this is built on number one, right? Understanding that if they are starting out, let's say you are a home decor blogger, for example, and you have I work with a lot of home decor bloggers. There's a lot of them out there. Yeah. But let's say that you start talking, you start engaging with your people that are coming to you through email, talking to them on social media. We have this idea, and it's a blogging mentality. It's not a business mentality, that we are there to share and we are there to project and we are there to lead. But the very best thing you can do is be listening. Listen to that audience. And that helps you know them, which was number one. But number two, understanding what is the transformation that they're going to need to make. Where are they starting from? So back to our home decor blogger, let's say this woman wakes up in her mid 30s and suddenly says, my house, it feels like somebody else's house. Like it feels like my mom's house, or it just looks like garbage. I don't enjoy showing up in here every day, right? I don't really like living here because it's not beautiful. So if you identify with that woman, with that, who the potential to be your super fan, if you identify with her that she wants to be surrounded by beauty, but she doesn't even know where to start. Maybe she's afraid that she was not born with design genes. And, on a personal side, I was like this for years. I, like my mom, terrible at home decor. And she used to apologize. I'm so sorry, Jeni. I never taught you how to do this. I did my best. But I thought that there was some kind of a magical thing that you had to learn through osmosis as you were growing up in a beautiful home. And that would constitute kind of a before picture. So you see, this is not women from 30 to 45 with 2.5 children and living in X part of the United States, making X amount of money. This is really a worldview, a mindset. So instead of targeting demographics, we're targeting psychographics, the women who have a certain worldview, they have their own self-limiting beliefs. I thought for years, I can't have a beautiful house because, and people name a couple things. One of them, I don't have money to redecorate, or two, I don't have the design gene, wasn't born with it, couldn't see, I know a beautiful house when I see a picture of one on Pinterest, but I don't even know where to begin. So when you understand their journey and you start talking with them, I love getting on the phone, getting on Skype, consulting with these people so you can help them maneuver. And you start working with this one woman, let's say, and helping her, let's say, just take a very small area of her house. What would it look like for you to have a nice bathroom where you could walk into there every morning to put on your makeup, if she's the makeup type of gal, and you would feel good. You would feel like I've arrived. I get to wake up and enjoy this space every morning. So you start with small things. And what happens is when you do this with enough people, you recognize you're kind of running a cart through the tall grass. If this is the journey that they're taking, I'm thinking about Kansas or Nebraska, the Midwest. Think about those old wagon train roads where the first people that came through, you had to, they were just driving through 4-foot high grasses. But over time, as people started to take that route, then the grasses went away on that path and the ruts in the road started to guide other people that came after them. So what you're really doing here, Jeni, is you are laying out a path of transformation where they can come to you. And this is not something that you do overnight. It's not. But blogging, if you're going to be in this for a business, it's a long game. You can always start right now, though. But with clients, with readers, you start to establish what are those steps? What are the first steps? What are the roadblocks they're going to run into? And how can I help them overcome those? They might be roadblocks in their mind. They might be roadblocks with finances. They might be roadblocks with getting their husband on board, right? It could be any number of things, but you develop authority and expertise because you know what that journey of transformation looks like. So if, this is the wagon train road through the early Midwest, you are able to, you can almost draw out a map. Like you could draw out the route, the best route for that person who is starting here, but wants to end up there is going to take. So knowing your people was number one. And then knowing their journey, the journey of transformation it's going to take to get them from there before to there after.
I love that you talked about a discovery call. I think that a lot of us shy away from that, of getting on, doing Skype, having that conversation with our audience, because we feel like, well, we're blogging. A lot of us are introverts. That's why we started blogging. We didn't want to be putting ourselves out there, right? But amazing what having that conversation can actually lead to. I think that that's often a time where things will click for you. You do see that transformation. You will understand not only the content to create, but the product or service to then offer based on the conversation that you have with them through a discovery call. Or if you're really an introvert and starting off, use Instagram stories. I think that is the safest place for many of us to be able to really start to ask those questions, do a poll, and then continue the conversation in direct message. I actually have a podcast episode talking more about this coming up after this interview, where it's going to talk about direct messaging and how you can continue that conversation to really understand what it is that they need. I love that. All right. So we've got knowing your audience and the transformation. What is the third thing?
The third one is less a strategy and more of a tactic. But I think women bloggers have spent too much time drinking the Kool-Aid of social media for far too long. I have statistics that back this up. I actually have a short video lesson in one of my programs that I prove that one email subscriber, when you compare one email subscriber to one Twitter follower or Facebook follower or Instagram or Pinterest follower, in terms of money, because that's really what we shift into talking about, right? Is business. When we allow people to give us money because we are delivering transformation for them. It's an equal value exchange. So when we start shifting things over into money, then one email subscriber is 27 times more valuable than one social media follower on any social media platform. So all the going advice says you have to be everywhere, do all the things, be on all the places. And I have to tell you, I've built a multi-six-figure business without using social media. I don't use it. Instead, I use email. And I bring the conversations into a quieter place. So first of all, when people sign up for your email stuff, they have just as close to 100% chance of seeing your messages as they can possibly get, right? So somebody signs up for you back in the day, people used to follow my Facebook page. And then everybody knows what happens when, Facebook, their algorithm, they pull the rug out from under you and tank your organic reach, right? Suddenly now you're like, wait, they wanted to follow me, but now they can't see the things that I'm posting. And if organic reach is somewhere south of 3% in a lot of cases, it's appalling. But so many bloggers are like, Facebook, I'm going to do all the Facebook things. Instead, yes, have conversations on social media. Yes, be listening, be developing relationships with the people who follow you on social media. But before you start sending them to every social media platform, get them in your inbox. Get you in their inbox, so that if you have something important that's going to help them, let's say with that transformation, they have 100% chance of seeing that and at least seeing the email and getting an opportunity to open the email. And then, there's one thing I love about email is the strategy doesn't change as fast. Of course, everything changes online, but it's always the latest. What's the latest Instagram strategy? And of course, everybody's Instagram right now at the time of this recording, everybody's Instagram followers have just plateaued completely or even falling off because Instagram is a for-profit company. They are there to make money. That's why they exist. They're a business too. And so they have no reason to keep showing all of your stuff for free. So, and people get obsessed about the social media tactics and hurry, get all the followers. You want that swipe up, you want this and that, and let's do Friday Facebook Friday instructions. And to me, it's like a rat race, because if you just get people into email in the first place, then yes, you can send them to your Instagram, but you've already got them in email, and email's not changing. There are things that you can do within the context of email. I'm gonna show you my shirt. Actually, this is hilarious, Jenny. Can you read what it says here?
I can. I love it. So the future is, and there's parentheses, F, email. Is my reading that right? Is that the way it's read?
Yeah. The future is female, but it's for marketing geeks like me.
I love it.
With email. So, and the other thing is, email is so much more of a personal experience. As long as people feel like you are broadcasting to the entire universe, like, I'm going to put out even stories on Instagram. There's this sense of, I am one of many, many, many people who are seeing this. This is not directed at me. And so they consume it with a very different mindset versus email. If you learn how to write fantastic emails that feel like a personal conversation, even if you're teaching like hardcore technical stuff, you can still write in a style that is engaging and that's not centered on the blogger, but is centered on the reader. And you can hear like my blood pressure is rising. I'm getting excited about this. The future is female, Jenny. But mastering email, I would say that is the number 3 thing. If you're going to have a business that's not just here for this year or that year or until the latest algorithm change happens, then mastering email is something that's going to carry you through. We're not thinking any longer of these things are only going to be relevant for 6 months, like on most social media, but this is going to stay fairly constant for the next decade or more.
Yes. And I think when you talk to bloggers, I think the scariest thing to them is often email. And it's that tech side of things. And once they get over the fear of that and just figure out their provider that they're going to use and get that freebie in place and make sure that it's targeting the right people, I totally agree. Because even when we're talking, like you said, when you're talking about Instagram, you're talking about Instagram stories are gone in 24 hours. How many people are actually going to see it? But like you said, that email you send out goes out into that inbox, and you have the opportunity. It will sit there until they decide to delete it, open it, or do something with it.
And I think we need to take our expectations down. We have been consumers of email, and we see what big companies are doing, or maybe the fancy bloggers are doing. And like, it looks beautiful. There's like 3 images that are laid out in a certain way, especially in the days when the best people were using MailChimp. We would see these elaborate newsletter layouts, and these people are cranking out a full-blown newsletter every single week. And bloggers look at that and they're like, I can't compete. Like, I can't do that. That's too much. Well, it is too much. And one of the reasons it's too much is from a conversion standpoint, newsletters don't even work. They do not work. And the very best thing you can do is strip out the template, dump the images, pretend you are writing an email to a friend. When you get to know that target super fan, write it to her. Like, think about her, put her beautiful picture behind your computer so you can look at it and just stay in that conversational style. That is the very best email marketers, the ones that are making, tens of thousands of dollars per month. That's what they're doing. So we look at the flashy and the showy, and it's unattainable. But the good news for bloggers is that should not even be the goal, right? It shouldn't be the goal. The goal is to have conversations that convert.
Yes. And I think that you're absolutely right. I mean, my audience has heard me say this time and time again about you can't do those newsletters with all pictures. That's not it. Make it look, like you said, just like, not only sound like you're writing it to a friend, but it should look like you've written it to a friend. Just an email, have lots of white space. I mean, if you're on Amy Porterfield's list, you know that's what it looks like. It's just that email getting across the content. And it's not this overwhelm of send them to 6 different posts with 6 different pictures. They don't do anything. They get overwhelmed with it and they're not going to click on anything. So I think that that's such great advice about make it simple, put out an email, letting them know, not just saying it's new content, but solving that problem, always hitting on that pain point, solving that problem for them, talking to a friend. I love it, Jeni. Oh my goodness. So Jeni, you have a blogging detox that you offer. Can you tell everyone a little bit about that? We're going to make sure to link to that in the show notes so they can go through it. Clearly, you know your stuff when it comes to treating your blog as a business. So please tell them about that.
Absolutely. So we developed the 7-day blogging detox. It's a free email series / course that just takes you, the goal here is to help you stop doing all the things all the time, to start being strategic, to quiet all those voices that are telling you have to do all the things all the time. Because the worst thing is for you to have a to-do list that's 10,000 feet long. And then you get overwhelmed, you get stuck, you can't keep going and show up in your best self because frankly, you don't even know what to do first. So the 7-day blogging detox is a very simple, I wrote all of the emails myself and I've gotten amazing feedback on this. It really helps women who are stuck in blogging burnout and, they're about ready to quit. And it's like, you know what? Let me pull you back from the ledge. Here's a friendly hand. Let me go take my hand, step back from the ledge, and let's think about this. Let's think about your blog. But instead of feeling like your blog being a business has to be some big, scary thing and you'll have more to do, we want to give you less to do. Take all of the unimportant things off of your plate so you can focus just on what matters, just what is going to move the needle for you and your business and for the precious followers and subscribers that you have as well. It's when you are doing the things that serve you well and at the same time that are serving your people well, everybody wins. And that's how you and your readers, your super fans, that's how you all move up together. So you can find that at bloggingdetox.com. There's a very simple landing page. Pop in your email address. I'll be in your inbox for 7 days because it's a 7-day blogging detox. And if you are just interested in these ideas and you're like, wow, this is so different, just, test it out. Get the 7-day blogging detox because there's no risk. The only thing you have to lose is your to-do list.
Yes. And I love the timing is actually perfect. So when we're recording this, it's the last day of school for my kids. But when the episodes come out, it will be the summer. And the summer is like July-ish is when this episode will come out. But it'll be the perfect time to get ready to kind of have that detox and hit quarter 4 really ready to go so that you don't feel that burnout. You can have your goals kind of centered. So this is perfect timing for this. I really appreciate this. Jeni, where are the best places? Obviously, get the 7-day challenge. Any other social platforms or anywhere else is the best spots to get in contact with you?
I'm on Twitter at Biz Mavens, and I love Twitter for the fact that you can just talk to anybody. I have to say I'm not super active on there. I'm kind of the outlier. I'm not big on social media at all. So the best place to find me is at bizmavens.com, bizmavens.com. I actually have my own podcast, the Biz Mavens podcast, where we talk about blogging and business strategy in more depth. So yeah, bizmavens.com, probably the best place to find me.
That's perfect. No, sounds great. Jeni, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and answer all my questions and give more information to my audience. I appreciate it.
Jeni, you rock my socks. This was a great and fun and easy interview. I have to say, I really have a lot of respect for what you're doing. And I am so thankful that I am aligned with people doing amazing things on the internet. You really stand out as a leader.
Thank you so much. You're so sweet. All right. Well, there you have it. I clearly could have had a conversation with Jeni for the entire day if I needed to. She is just packed full of information and really makes you think about how are you treating your blog like a business and how can you make that mindset shift to make sure that you are taking steps and putting in place strategies that can help you move your business forward. I would love to see how you are listening to the podcast. Send me a screenshot, put it up on Instagram stories, and tag me at Jeni_Melrose. We would love to see what you found impactful from this episode. It also helps us so much when you leave a review on iTunes. So if you go to iTunes, down at the bottom, you can leave a review and just tell us what you thought about the episode. Tell us what you think about it. It just helps so many others be able to find the podcast when you do that. When you do leave a review, please make sure that you use your Instagram handle. That way I can send you a little thank you message for leaving us a review. All right, guys, until next time, I will see you all then.